Hello, welcome back. In today's episode is that we're going to talk about shooting the impossible, which was impossible, now possible. Well, it was never that it was not impossible, but a lot of times I think, especially in photography, since the very beginning, when people were in the dark room and they were able to like mask thing, dodge and burn, clip stuff out, mask a lot of colors and stuff using contrast filters and stuff in the dark room, so you could, wash out things, certain things, of course, like if you had yellowing, that's like something to do with the chemistry, or you expose a little light to the paper, etc. But there was a lot of things that we did intentionally and then unintentionally. Sometimes contrast filters will make the image, will bring out more details in the lines. Sometimes we hide away certain things, so we mask things out, dodge and burn. It's how we get darker blacks and brighter whites, or grayer whites, I think, because people still want to retain the detail. But film negatives have a lot, and I mean a lot, of information on them. But of course, it's always dependent on how you develop the film in the tank. If you do not develop the film in the tank correctly, it's going to be a whole mess. It's a chemical reaction, right? So you have to remember that you have to make it stable, the chemicals stable, so that once it's in development process, all the film does is just turn on the switch, so it develops the film. Of course, color is much more difficult. I only did color once, and I was like, yeah, this is not for me, because you got to do it in pitch black. But we're going to now shoot today, because the A9iii, the global sensor, we can now shoot the impossible to be real. This is a genuine image. It's so simple, you don't even think about it, but it is this: a fan that, a lot of the times I like to try to shoot. I take thousands of photos a day. You have to, if you love photography, if you love the image making process, whether it be video or photography or audio or whatever, you got to put all your effort into perfecting that, what you love. And what I love is just taking photos. But now I like taking photos of motion, because again, this is like the impossible is now capturable, to be truth, right? It's like taking a photo of lightning. Why doesn't lightning have issues with our cameras that were pre-global sensor? Well, it's due to because lightning is true light. Like, it has a well, in limits, or not limits, in limits, the simple example is that as x approaches 0 or 1 or -1, etc., the brackets are not brackets, it's the parenthesis symbol. So you get, of course, it's not capturable, but in film, it's using hard brackets from the other end of the hard brackets. So -infinity to the comma +infinity brackets. Because in the film and in the chemistry, there is a set hard limit because of the chemicals. But because it's chemicals, there's no definite, it's undefined in a sense. Like, you can get one film chemistry roll that might be different from the other one just because of the temperature, right? So if your temperature is not stable, or it's too hot or too cold, it develops faster, it develops slower. So you get an issue with, or it could be a plus. I don't know. It's film, so however you look at it in your perspective. But when you develop the film, there is some sort of like chemical change, and you have to work with it. Now with the it's the same thing with lightning, where it's like it's a whatever you want to call it, static charge, chemical change, whatever of the world. Uh, it produces reality. It's like a real thing that we did not, as humans, produce. So there's technically no bounds. Only the creator of lightning can establish something to see the ends broken, the beginning and ends broken. So again, where I'm going with this is that with a global sensor, we have now are in the realm, at least mass marketed global sensor. We're in the realm where the everyday person, such as myself, can take thousands of photos a day. And we can I love taking photos of the mundane because, again, this was not photographed. Should I have exposed for the fan a little bit more? No, because the subject, I think, is the fan. But I liked how it looked because you don't really need to see the details of some things, but you see the structural being that it's a fan in some type of like outdoor food area. And you can see this fan is spinning with no what is it called, the electronic or camera skewing. So you get the true fan positioning. And you can even, if you wanted to, you could calculate the thing to its nth degree that you see so fit. So, if you want to see if like an engine, like a plane engine is running correctly, use the global sensor, capture the images. Of course, on a better lens, of course. You must use like a, I don't know, like a 600 lens or something so you can see the extra fine detail. And you got to shoot like 120 FPS. But you get these full images. These are even 1 megabyte JPEGs because if I take 1,000 photos of the mundane, I'm not gonna plaster it on a wall, or I'm not gonna plaster it on a computer screen. So this is just like fun images that you just take. You always have to practice. So you got to take. I think you have to take at least 1,000 photos a day. If you're not, then you're gonna be slacking. You're gonna not. You have to be self-critique of yourself, and you always have to improve. So if you take 1,000 images a day, that means you're taking 1,000 critiques a day of your own self, and you are your own worst critic. So when these images are put together, I think that's what makes it exciting, right? So let's see the full. And then when you put it into the GIF, it does look amazing because now you're seeing like the true imagery of a fan. And like I said before, it was impossible to see what happened before. And you can see that if you go during, if you do the 120 FPS thing, or at least the high burst settings, there's gonna be a fall off period. But it's just nice to like just look at it because now it's like, oh, I'm seeing like reality, so that you can actually, if for example, if you wanted to create a rendered world on the computer, let's say you're a VR creator, you can actually recreate real life now. That is true to the real world. So let's say you have like a global sensor shooting a wall, and the wall has some spinning blades. In the VR world, you can also recreate that to its true degree. Now, yes, you could do this but we're using real imageries, like I said, real images, not 3D rendered images. Now, can you have the real images and then you have the 3D rendered images and put them together? Of course, and that makes it more realistic. It can even be more perfect. So again, we are capturing the impossible, or we are truthfully capturing the impossible that was deemed impossible. So now it is truly possible thanks to the global sensor. And I think, like I said, I think it's just amazing time we live in. You know, of course though, I saw that this camera actually went up because of the tariffs. That makes no sense. That's such unfortunate, because like some of these cameras are just sitting in stores, right? So anyway, yeah, I think though that capturing the impossible is just an amazing thing. So, you know, get to it, take more photos, 1,000 photos a day. Come out.